everyone. Thank you so much. Welcome to Pervasive Media Studio Lunchtime Talk. So these talks are live every Friday, 1 p.m, here in the building and across Twitter, Facebook, what's the other one? YouTube. So whether you're in Bristol or far away, you can join in the conversation. So I'm Lucy and I am doing the intro and hosting the talk. I am a black woman and I've got dark hair. My hair is in a high ponytail. I'm wearing a blue striped jumper and some really cute joggers from Monkey. So these lunchtime talks are part of the Open Studio Friday offer. Every Friday we throw open the doors of Pervasive Media Studio and offer you the chance to spend time in the space, hot desking alongside our residents and staff from 10 till 5. But the talks cover everything from innovative research in fields of creativity and technology to projects in progress, which are in need of feedback and questions and curious minds like yourself. So a warm welcome to you guys and anyone new in the studio. This might be the first time you're engaging with us, so welcome. And also, if you wanted to share a link to the talk on any of your social media, that would be great. So what is Pervasive Media Studio? So we are a diverse and collaborative community exploring creativity, technology, everything from comedy to coding and product development to performance art. We're a partnership between Watershed, University of West England and UOB, University of Bristol. We are the home of embryonic ideas, research and development, and the building of new companies, and we're the meeting place for both creative and commercial industries. So we offer studio space, hot desking, meeting rooms, events, opportunities for our residents to take part, and we are generous and we like mutual exchanges. So we are the space for people to take risks in their practice and make time for collaboration. Housekeeping, feel free to move around the space, grab a cup of tea, coffee, water, beer, but not beer. And we have a quiet space to the left for anyone who needs to just take a break, have a chill out, you can go in there. Fire exits are either end of the studio and one of the studio team. Any studio team here? Okay, studio team can show you where you need to go. There's accessible toilets and baby changing area found in the corridor where the kitchen is. Okay, moving on. A captioned and recorded version of the talk will also be available here after the talk is finished. And if you're watching online right now, you can add subtitles or head over to our Facebook page for the live stream and just search Pervasive Media Studio. There'll be a Q&A at the end of the talk for those of you watching online. Pop your questions on the YouTube chat or tweet us. And if you're in the building, just raise your hand, good old-fashioned way. You can get news on all our future talks by heading to www.watershed.co.uk/studio, Twitter @PMStudioUK, or Instagram Pervasive Media Studio. Yes, so let's get on with it. So now I'd like to introduce today's talk. So resident Joe Hill and Sumaya Hassan-Murphy have been engaging in some self-directed research looking into how Pervasive Media Studio can become more of an equitable and educational space for young people. In this talk, they'll be sharing the results of their workshops and conversations. This talk has been pre-recorded, but the lovely Joe Hill will be here to answer your questions at the end.
Yeah, so basically we just want to thank you all for, being here in whatever capacity you are, be it in person or via the web.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming to here.
Yeah, we appreciate your time, your energy, your ears being lent to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to just should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah. So my name is Joe. I am a resident at the PM Studio, and I make musical things and mostly explore kind of, sort of social issues in my work. And I'm a carer and I perform music, and that's me. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Sumaya. I actually don't know if I'm still officially a resident of the PM studio. We'll find out. And I was saying to Joe, I just kind of explain myself as being a whore for the creative arts, because I don't really have a specific thing within it, I guess. I enjoy writing, and music is kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to focus on a bit more now. But I also enjoy doing stuff with film and art and all of it. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, all good.
And I don't really know what else to say about myself if we're just talking about like practicey type things. So that's
we're obviously
me.
multifaceted human beings, as we all are. So there's many other things to our personalities, but that'll do for now. We wanted to make it clear that we won't like specifically be talking about any details of trauma, but we will be talking about issues of like discrimination and social inequality. So we wanted to make it very clear that you are more than welcome and encouraged to take a break or leave at any point or do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable, because that's really important to us. So we just wanted to make that clear. This project's kind of talking about creating opportunities for young people in the PM studio and what that might look like. And I guess when we're talking about opportunities, we sort of mean things that are maybe initiated by young people, but are working in partnership and collaboration with all generations. So it's not just like a young person thing, hive little thing on its own. It's kind of more about that collaboration, but involving young people's initiative. And we really welcome any questions and feedback and ideas and anything you wish to share with us. Any inspirations, whatever you got going on in your mind. Obviously, we're not your therapist, but we would love to. We'd love to hear anything that you have to share that comes up from this talk. And you can either feel free to do that in the moment. So I should be in person in the room at the moment now.
I shall not.
You shall not, no. So if there's anything in the moment that you'd like to ask a question about, then hit me up. And if not, we will share our emails and you can get in contact at a later date if it doesn't feel like the best time to share in the moment.
I guess we also kind of just wanted to address like why we're on video instead of like being in person. I think throughout the whole of this project we have tried our best to kind of prioritize each other as human beings rather than the sake of the project. And that just means working in ways that like we feel most comfortable and accessible, I guess. But I guess we're just trying to like nurture and honor our capacities, which I think is always important within any kind of project or anything. And obviously when we are working with the young people that we're trying to bring in, obviously we want to be working with them in the same kind of way. And I guess we just want to practice what we preach and be practicing it as much as we can. So just trying
to respect that value of like working in the way that works for the whole person.
And that's gonna look different for everyone. So adaptability is important. Yes.
We wanted to share with you our sort of like motivations for doing this project, because we sort of feel like it's kind of healthy to check in with what's like motivating us, just to make sure we're kind of to make sure that we're doing this project in like a way that feels authentic and is healthy, because it can be quite like emotionally intense and triggering kind of conversations and things to think about. So we wanted to make sure we were kind of grounded in why we wanted to do this project.
I think we are both like very much motivated and fueled by like our own personal experience, and kind of struggling to find spaces that can fully cater to people's individual needs, and also just feeling truly like welcome in a space, and also just kind of in company of I don't know, kind of I guess similar or aligned energies and people, and feeling I can't really explain what I'm trying to say, but like feelings of like actual like unity and community and safety. I don't know if that made much sense, but
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think like another thing for us was it felt like a chance to try like facilitate a project in a way that like lived by the values that we have of like wanting to see like work life more accommodating for people's mental health and people's whatever people are bringing into a space. Like this kind of felt like a good opportunity to try and facilitate a project in a way that had that like really at the core, because it was kind of entirely up to us what we do, so we could kind of really be intentional with that, and which was cool. And another thing was kind of learning a bit more, I suppose, just having more experience, like gaining more experience of like facilitating a sort of project that is exploring how to make opportunities more equitable and accessible, and just kind of gaining more insight into like the challenges of that, really, and just how that works and growing us.
Because I think it's very important to like kind of recognize the challenges and I don't know, I guess like bugs within the system of the PM studio, and doing our best to like dismantle that, and do so through conversation and then action.
So we realised we've been talking about how we wanted to do this project, kind of living by like the values that we have. So we thought it'd be useful to be a bit clearer about like what those values are and how they actually like looked like in the project. And we feel that like the kind of the approach to like working with people and asking questions is often like as important as the kind of questions that we're asking. So we wanted to make sure that we checked in with these values as regularly as possible, just to make sure that we were still being authentic and working in the way that we originally set out to.
So we've already kind of like previously touched on this, but obviously everyone's kind of mental and physical well-being is a priority, and we want to make sure that we're honouring everyone's capacity, and I think we kind of did that through trying our best to be like consistently communicative of our limitations, being honest with ourselves and other people, and setting boundaries and respecting those boundaries, and any issues that we did have was collaboratively resolved, And then obviously, we wanted to make sure that everyone's time and energy was being, valued and compensated in, like an actual, an actual way, not just being like, oh yeah, no, I appreciate your time. Like, we want to make sure that people are compensated and, like, it's a mutual, reciprocal, give and take type situation. Yeah.
I think some other values we had was kind of having an appreciation that this kind of thinking and work of that we're exploring is like quite a gradual and slow and evolving process, and trying not to rush things, I suppose, and being really mindful that the conversations we're like opening up with people and have started in this project like have every intention of continuing and being like explicit with people with that, of being like, look, we're wanting to talk to you about these things, and we want this to be a continued conversation, not just a one-off thing. And we also wanted to have like a malleable structure to the project, so we kind of designed what the next steps were based on the conversations and things we were exploring in the first kind of consultation that we did. And we also just wanted to make sure that we were like checking in regularly with each other and having enough space and time for reflection and kind of recalibration from things, because we realized quite a lot of these ideas can be quite big and dense and take a lot of processing time, so we wanted to make sure that was going on consistently. Cool. So as you may have noticed, I have a laptop here now, so I'm gonna read some bits out, because I just want to make sure I'm being as clear and detailed as possible about what we actually did in the project. So we kind of started things off by contacting like a handful of other young creative people to come together for what we called like an ideas lab, and like shout out to Rising Arts Agency for the name of that one. And kind of each young person we invited to the ideas lab was very knowledgeable and passionate about creating more equitable spaces for young people in Bristol. And we tried to find a balance between people who had interacted with the PM studio before and people who hadn't, and it was a completely new space. We also kind of wanted to make sure that people had some either like intention or experience of like facilitating more like inclusive creative environments, whether that's like art workshops or sort of like mental health clubs or like writing courses. And we sort of started off this ideas lab thinking about ways to build safety, and like what does the term sort of safe space actually feel like, and how can it actually feel genuine, because I feel like that term gets thrown around a lot, and they're like, oh, we need to make sure it's a safe space, but we wanted to actually understand what that looked like for people, because we feel like doing this work, it's kind of easy to want to jump to like straight into like quite deep conversations, but we wanted to make sure that everybody was comfortable and things felt safe and easy. And we sort of recognize how important it is making people feel safe, like how important it is for the work for people to be able to kind of express themselves more clearly and more authentically, and able to kind of like bounce ideas off each other better. And so the next kind of part was thinking about just kind of what is possible, and in terms of sort of creative opportunities for people, and we sort of had a number of different questions dotted around the space, and just had some time to kind of think about them and kind of write our responses. And some of those questions included like, how do you like to experience and grow feelings of community and closeness? Another one was like, what helps you stay true to your ambitions? And another one was, what does your dream creative space look like? And lots of like themes and ideas came out of this part. And so afterwards we started to focus more down on the question of like, how can the Pervasive Media Studio be a more kind of equitable and welcoming space for young people? And because we'd been doing all of this thinking about just with using these open questions, the conversation kind of naturally sort of moved into talking more specifically about the PM Studio, and there was just like lots of ideas flying around, and the kind of vulnerability that people showed in sharing their ideas around the kind of challenges and barriers that come up was really powerful and really cool to see.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who was involved in that, by the way. It was a time.
It was a time, so the next kind of part then involved kind of, because we've recorded all that process, and so the next stage involved looking back over the notes that we'd made from the Ideas Lab session and sort of like drawing out kind of key themes and key ideas. And there was like a whole load of positives about the PM Studio. There was a whole bunch of like criticisms and barriers and things that are going on, and sort of practical ideas of the ways that the studio could go about improving, and just like general nuggets of insightful wisdom. And like looking back through all of the things that came up from the Ideas Lab was really amazing, and like so much content and so many ideas were flying around. And we sort of turned these into a number of different kind of questions and prompts, and we started to think about whose kind of perspectives we felt we'd yet to kind of welcome into the project, and who we would like to kind of prioritize out of these people, as we didn't have the sort of time and capacity to speak to everybody that we'd like to. So we sort of decided to approach like a handful of organizations who work directly with young people who are outside of like the mainstream schooling system for various different reasons. Often because they've been kind of failed by sort of mainstream education in one way or another. And we wanted to connect with people working within kind of like larger organizations or charities, because they work with just a wider range of people, and therefore kind of hopefully have more insight into into different needs and barriers that come up for people. And so we reached out, just inviting them for an open chat and let them know what we'd want to talk about, and we're clear about the kind of agenda and what kind of questions we were exploring. And we tried to be very clear with like that we'd like to open up these conversations now for like future exploration and collaboration. We also, like kind of whilst this was going on, got back in touch with some of the people who came to the Ideas Lab, and invited them to take a look at like sort of like online content that the PM Studio puts out, and like job adverts, and sort of like open call outs for like residencies and things, just to see, just kind of get their thoughts and ideas around them, and how kind of accessible they feel for young people, and just any ideas of improvements. So like the last kind of section of the project involved kind of chatting to these different organizations. We managed to find some time that worked for everyone, and sent over the kind of questions and discussion points that we wanted to explore in advance, just to give some people time to take a look over this beforehand and ask if they had any questions or anything that they didn't feel comfortable discussing, or we kind of started each conversation just by giving a bit of context about what the project is and what the PM Studio is, and just opening up some space to explore any questions or concerns that they might have had. And then just sort of got stuck in with these kind of questions and prompts that we came up with. And I think like the conversations that we're having were really rich and covered like a lot of different themes and approaches to kind of working inclusively with young people, and some more kind of like specific and detailed considerations came up as well around working with people who have been excluded from mainstream education system, which was cool. And that kind of like sort of concluded like our sort of like practical like engaging with different people and generating lots of ideas. So we then kind of moved on to kind of gathering all that stuff and doing some reflecting and thinking about what have we learned so far and where might we want to go next. So now we're just going to chat through like what we sort of like found out through all these conversations and ideas and stuff, and where we might want to go next with it.
So the first thing that was kind of raised was prioritizing growing trust and familiarity, which I guess kind of sounds quite, I don't know, I guess basic or like common sense, but it kind of really is about looking at what that looks like. So for example, I think we had discussions about like engaging with the audiences that we want to work with, like kind of on their like turf, I guess. So going into the environments that they're already comfortable in, to kind of actually establish and develop a connection with them in an area that they already feel a bit more kind of like safe within. And
kind of and also that extending to like then people's experience within the PM studio space, and making sure that space feels kind of familiar and safe for somebody, and that being like a priority, like from the start. Which again, sounds really basic, but it's something that does get overlooked and is easy to overlook. And another one was kind of being real and honest about the sort of discrimination and toxic cultures that exist at times within the workspace, and kind of how it's important to not kind of express this through blame or through these kind of destructive ways, but being real and recognizing that like real harm has been caused to people, and that isn't okay, and that like it's important to recognize that fact. Because I guess if we can't identify and name like the barriers and the challenges that are actually present in a space, then we're not really being like fully transparent and honest, which is something that we feel is
and then I think it's going to be even harder to kind of like understand what like healing from that and like reparations can look like, and I think transparency is just a very important kind of value that we want to practice.
So I think like another thing we learned is like how important it is to meet people where they're at, and how much kind of like sensitivity and like emotional vulnerability is often needed in that process, which can be easy to like underestimate, especially I think for people who for various reasons might be mistrustful of like a space that is reaching out to them and inviting them to come and get involved with something. I think it's just recognizing the emotional work that needs to go on there is quite detailed and subtle, and it's really important to understand that person's needs.
Yeah, so then something else that came up in our conversation was looking at different pathways to familiarity. Because, yeah, like we've kind of already established, that can look like so many different things. And so, yeah, one of the things that was suggested was low stakes opportunities. Yeah, and I think just kind of letting the connection kind of organically progress, but ensuring that there is going to be that progression.
And I guess
making it feel like less like just like low pressure, and I guess hopefully then a bit more inviting.
It could like look like just like, you know, some time for doing messy creative things, or like just like graffitiing or like painting, just like very like open kind of creative activities, I guess. So another one was thinking about how we could bring aspects of like other events which are taking place in Watershed and somehow like host them or host parts of them in the PM studio to help create kind of more like crossover between the two spaces. Because at the moment it feels like things can be quite separate. So whether if there's events, taking place, maybe there can be some sharing going on.
Yeah, and then we also wanted to look at using food, so like dishes and cuisine that's like, you know, non-Western, and familiar to the, you know, cultures of people who we are hoping to bring into the space. And I think the same goes for, you know, like music and poetry and books and, you know, anything really. So and through that we'd also be like inviting people to bring, you know, objects, artwork, clothes, music, you know, all those types of things that make them feel at home into the space as well. And another one was thinking about how we can take the work and ideas that are generated and made in the PM studio out to people in their familiar spaces, and kind of creating that sharing dialogue. And like a final one was thinking about how maybe the PM studio can become a space to host like STEM, which is like science, technology, engineering and mathematics, organizations to sort of like do their sort of like diversity and inclusion work within the studio and creating more of that kind of collaboration and culture going on. So another aspect was that came up was thinking about different pathways into like leadership for young people within the PM studio. So whether this is at like a kind of like board level or management level, or even as like a sort of like an expert voice that like residents can consult with, a bit like the thing called Time Bank that the PM studio does, where residents can book time with different people of expertise to kind of consult with, because all of these ideas could help make kind of leadership decisions which are happening at the PM studio more equitable for young people. And I think like really trying to think about how we want to avoid kind of hiving off and segregating like opportunities for young people, and just how all of these things going on that we're like the opportunities that we want to see really want to be integrated with the rest of the space, and not just kind of happening in its own sort of bubble in one corner. And so another thing that's really important as well is transparency and being really explicit in all of the like policies and agreements, and like having conversations and establishing people's needs, and like safeguarding is going to be really important, of course, like working with young children and so we need to like make sure that we're having these conversations really clearly and what else am I trying to say?
I think it's like it's about
I think signposting will be like very important to like make sure everyone knows like explicitly like what they can expect and you know, what can come from their time in the space. And yeah, like I feel like they need to know you know, like who they can go to when they're in the space and yeah, I think just like expectations need to be very established and clear.
And kind of working like collaboratively with those expectations to kind of set them at the start of anything. So so they can kind of guide things.
And I think we talked as well about like kind of like not eliminating but reducing barriers like where they were, and so like sometimes that can look like getting an interpreter, be it like BSL or like for another language. And also I think this also kind of links to like the PM Studio's like online presence, because I think for a lot of kids they don't necessarily have access to that, and so you know, learning that the PM Studio actually exists isn't really like, you know.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Something else
that came up. And I think like a final thing for us would be great to like meet up with the other people in the PM Studio who are thinking a lot about this kind of work, and it'd be really great to kind of share ideas and collaborate, and that'd be really cool, because this is something that like me and Sumaya have been working on kind of in separation from that other work which is already happening at PM Studio.
Obviously we've gone into some stuff today, potentially a bit scattered and nonsensically, but we will be putting kind of like a blog post together that kind of summarizes a bit better and more clearly, a bit more in depth, kind of our findings and this journey throughout the project. So if you want to, you know,
no more. That'll be on the PM Studio website. That you can take a look at. And we'll also like in that kind of discuss a bit more about what we do kind of differently and the sort of challenges that kind of we came across with this project, because we haven't really had time to discuss that in this talk. But there's some things going on with that. And we'd kind of like to end it with just giving a big thanks, because all of these ideas and all of this learning would not have happened without the wonderful people that we engaged with and the kind of love and generosity that they showed us, you know. And so we want to give thanks to the legends and icons that were involved. So I'd like to thank you.
I'd like to thank you.
Bless you. I'd really love to thank Aman and Prince and Lily and Lewis and Maya and Lucy and Kez, who are all involved in one way or another with the Ideas Lab.
Wonderful human beings.
We'd really love to thank Adiba and Luke and Danielle and Jade for all their help with kind of getting this project off the ground and their sort of ongoing support with it.
We'd also really like to thank Azima and Phoebe, and also Rising Arts Agency for constant inspiration and celebration. And just kind of family, friends, supporters. Ginger Cake, that has been fueling us. And apparently my wonderful home.
I think I wrote that.
But I guess now we'd like to, I mean, I'm not there, but we'd like to open up the space to questions, feedback, suggestions, all that good stuff.
All is welcome.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the
Welcomed
time
and appreciated.
and energy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
So yeah, thank you to Joe and Sumaya for that. We've got Joe here with us now to do some Q&A. Remember, if you're coming in online, I never remember where to look. If you're online, please put the questions in the Q&A on YouTube. And if you're in the room, please raise your hand if you've got any questions for the wonderful Joe about the project they've been doing. I guess I'll kick it off. I was really inspired when you were talking about the questions that you had in your ideas lab, and I kind of wanted to pitch to you, what does your dream creative space look like?
Oh, tricky, isn't it? I think I get so much out of performance. I think so much what fuels me as a creative is performing and sharing work, and I find that most useful kind of non-verbally, through music. Is where I feel like I can express myself most clearly. So I think some kind of hybrid space of a performance space where there'd be regular workshopping and performing and sharing of ideas, and then some also quiet rooms where I can be by myself for a little bit.
Okay, so we need a PM Studio stage, is what you're
saying.
Okay,
Sick.
cool, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
Any questions, guys, from the audience or in the chat?
Have we got a mic?
Oh, yeah.
You just have to hold it really close to your face.
Thanks. Oh, hi. So I was wondering, you were talking about bringing younger people into the studio. I was wondering, is there a specific age bracket, or is it just to bring down the age of residents and people who are entering the space now? What's the target? Schools
I think just trying to create more space that is able to cater for young people's needs more effectively, really, because I think from mine and Sumaya's experience that is kind of lacking just in Bristol, and it's just something that we'd love to grow and really recognize the potential of the PM Studio here of being such an amazing educational interactive mind-blowing space for people. So it's less age target based or anything like that, because we really I tried to convey is it's trying to encourage more opportunities that are led by the initiative of young people, but that is fully to be in collaboration with people of all generations, and that's kind of where we're coming from. In terms of age range, we were trying to be as broad as possible, really, which is difficult because the needs of young people vary so much between you change so much as a human being between the ages of 1 and 30. So that's a whole minefield. But we tried to keep things broad as much as we could do. Thank you for your question.
Have any questions?
Yeah. So you said you'd go into communities, spaces, and then work with them there. Did you have any sort of soft template to create a studio environment, or have you thought about any, sort of structure where you can just take that, go into a space, work with those people, and then have, some sort of creative outcome from that?
Yeah, see. I don't think we were in this project. We didn't specifically think of those kind of templates of what that engagement would specifically entail, because I think so much of it we'd want to come from them, and what would they like to explore, and what would they like to engage with, and really trying to get as much of that dialogue going, so we can be as aware as possible of what their needs are, and what are their interests, and what are people enjoying, and try to kind of initiate this connection between the PM Studio and somebody else, very much as being we're coming into their space of familiarity, and so we really want to to be open to whatever's going on there for them, and be much more led by their agenda and their interests, I guess. And then naturally that relationship would grow, and that relationship of trust would grow, and then we can then start to move on to like kind of more structured, like creative like engagements, I guess. I don't know if that makes much sense, but yeah, thank you for your question.
Question over here.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks. So you talked about trying to engage those that are excluded from mainstream education.
Yeah.
You've done the research.
Perfect.
So just wondering, following the research, kind of what you're planning on doing to do that.
Yeah, sure. I think this is like the next kind of steps that we need to engage with. So we've kind of got some ideas about some approaches of like how to like engage with people who are outside of mainstream education. But it's so broad, and like I don't think we've been able to go into that in as much detail as needed yet. So I think that's kind of like a next step for us, I suppose. Like I'd be lying if I said like I had loads of ideas about the exact ways to go into that. But I think it's being the kind of the main things that came up around that area were just being really aware of how important it is to build that trust, and just how maybe more time and more emotional awareness is needed for somebody who is been failed by a system that is there to kind of grow our curiosity and our creativity as people. And if that has failed you, then it's very difficult to be trustful of another space that is trying to welcome you into that kind of creative environment. But the actual specifics of what that looks like and how we'd go about that's kind of like what we're wanting to develop on next. So I don't feel like I can give you a fully fledged answer at the moment, but that's like something that we really are interested in and care about. Thank you.
Do we have some questions from online?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So this is from Tony. Tony says, I think this might have been addressed as well. How do you think your roles in these conversations change as you move up in age brackets?
As we move up in age brackets.
That was me. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a loaded question. Oh yeah, sorry. It's a little bit of a loaded question, Joe, but not in a bad way, I promise you. So
No, go
it comes
for it.
from my own experiences in youth engagement. Every day by day, my teenagers become more and more of a distant memory, and it got me asking a lot of questions about what my space was within youth engagement, what my role was. Advocating for young people in creative spaces and managing those spaces and things like that. And I'd just be really interested to get your thoughts on that. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a great consideration to have, because I recognize like I'm 26 and like I have a younger brother who's 22, and I can relate on many levels his experience of what's going on. But I see people who are younger that seem to be having like quite a drastically different experience than myself as a young person, and so I think that's where we really try to I guess just be as led by them as possible, and try our best to put our own judgments and perspectives and experiences to one side. But it's difficult, and like I think the more it's just a difficult world to navigate, as you probably know.
That's why I have to know.
No, I think I don't know if I have like a magic technique for that one. But like I'd love to talk more about that with you. If you've got any ideas. Yeah, thanks, Tony.
I'd also like to join that conversation. I was just thinking that is a hard question. Was there any other questions? Oh, over here, let's go.
Just a note to hold the mic as close as you can to your face.
I will, because I'm very quiet. So. I enjoyed that. I just wanted to ask, with the research part of your project, is there anything you'd do differently next time if you do it again?
Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah, it's been, what did I say? I think it's been, like, whilst we've really tried to prioritize our needs as people, because I think, to be real, me and Sumaya have both, been having a mad time whilst trying to do this research. And I think at times we've been successful with, like, being real about those needs and communicating our limitations, but at times that's also been difficult. And I think, that's then impacted, like, the timeline of the research and conversations that we maybe wanted to have that we weren't able to. And I think that's taught me a lot about, like, contingencies and, like, how important kind of making contingencies when doing research is useful, because just of that emotional element that it gives you more space for when things do go sideways, as they do in life. Like, it doesn't derail the project in as big a way as it would do if those contingencies weren't there. And that's, like, a big thing I've learned. And that requires us to be real about, like, what our capacity is and what difficulties we're going through at the moment, and being able to communicate that with the people that we're working with. That's probably a big one though, because I feel like I'm definitely, like, a bit hopelessly optimistic with things sometimes. That's all good.
Very well said, I agree. Do you have a question? Maybe chuck the mic forward. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for talking today. I found the research really interesting, and obviously the number of suggestions and ideas that you've given to the space are going to be really valuable. So I was wondering, from this point forward, how do you envisage the process of starting to actually integrate them within the space, and how do you hope to continue involving these young people in implementing them in the space as well?
Yeah, so I think what feels like a good next step is having more of a detailed conversation with the people that run the studio here and people who are already thinking about these kind of ideas here, because this, like I said, this project's been quite separate. So I think there really needs to be coming together and, like, sharing of ideas and, like, figuring out where the holes are, and start having those conversations about how we can practically start implementing some of these things maybe, and then going back to the people that we've engaged with and being like, cool, so, because we kind of left those conversations with them being like, thank you so much for your time and energy, we're going to go away, do some thinking, figure out how we can get some of this stuff cooking at the PM studio and come back to you. So I think it will then be a process of going back to them and working collaboratively with it. I like that's quite vague in some ways, but
perfect. No, that's perfect.
I think that's what feels good.
Yeah, and also like there's a lot of responsibility on the studio itself to kind of step in now and kind of work with you as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it wants to be like a team effort.
Have we got any final questions from the audience? Okay, thanks everyone. I guess I have one question. I was just thinking about you saying across the kind of research you've been doing, has there been kind of like any case studies or examples that have jumped out to you as like they're doing it right, they're doing it in a great way that we could kind of like look to for inspiration?
I've definitely been inspired a lot by Rising Arts Agency, who are based in Bristol, who support young creatives, and I think they definitely been inspired by the way that they just work, kind of the kinds of questions that they ask people and the kind of information that they really want to understand before engaging with somebody and working with somebody is really beautiful, and the way that they celebrate the fact that young people are already like ready for the world and ready to express themselves. And because I think there can be a lot of ideas that maybe you need this kind of qualification or you need this kind of experience or all these sorts of things, and that can just create a lot of a lot of doubt in yourself, I guess, as a creative person. So yeah, I find the way that they celebrate the young creatives that work with them is really beautiful.
100%. That's amazing. Okay, I think if we're done with questions, thank you so much, Joe and Sumaya, for sharing your research with us today. Before everyone goes, I would like to say I'm very excited to announce that the Watersheds research team will be taking over the lunchtime talks through May. That's my team, Antonio over there's team. Is Farah still here? No. Martin's team also sort of as well. In next week's talk, the research... Oh my God, Emma, hey! And Emma's team, you had your mask on. So in next week's talk, the research team will introduce the takeover, share kind of like the types of research that takes place in the studio, how the team was formed, the research themes of interest, and how you can work with them. Also, on the 3rd of May, the studio will be hosting the first of a monthly series called Makeshift, which is space for 18 to 30-year-olds to come in and come together, learn together, etc., etc. You can find more about that on the PM Studio website. And that'll be the first Tuesday of every month. If you want to stick around on Hot Desk today or find out more about what we do, then please come and find one of the studio team. Studio team, put your hands in the air. Woo! And we'll be happy to help. If you're watching online, drop us a line at studio@watershed.co.uk with any questions. Thank you for being here today. We'll see you all same time, same place next week. Will we? Yes, cool. All right. So many bank holidays, sorry. Thanks, everyone.